The federal government is defending its decision to provide a $400 million loan to Algoma Steel, despite information coming out that it knew of the company's decision to lay off hundreds of workers in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Speaking to CTV's Question Period, Jobs and Families Minister Patty Hajdu says the idea was to save the steel sector.
At the end of the day, we have to save this sector. And I think we went into this eyes wide open, knowing there was going to be disruption, but also determined that we would have a sovereign Canadian steel sector. So that's why the loan, so that the company would have the breathing room and the time to be able to pivot to new product and new market.
Last week, Algoma Steel announced it had issued layoff notices to about 1,000 workers, citing tariff pressures as a main factor in the decision. The company's CEO said both governments knew the direction the company was headed, with some in the opposition parties suggesting the loan, which was provided alongside a $100 million loan from the Ontario government, should have had job security conditions attached. Joining me now is Meg Gingrich, Assistant to the National Director for United Steelworkers. Meg, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So, information coming to light. The federal and Ontario governments knew about these upcoming layoffs at Algoma Steel, yet still provided hundreds of millions in loans. What do you make of this? Was it a mistake to give those loans?
I don't think it was a mistake to give the loans. I mean, our union really believes that the federal government and provincial governments can play a very important role in guiding the steel industry in Canada to making products that we can consume domestically. So, you know, for us, we were taken by surprise at the timing of the announcement 4 weeks before Christmas, much sooner than anyone anticipated. I think the intent of the loans, but we don't have a lot of the details on what was agreed to with Algoma, unfortunately. But from our perspective, they should have been used and could have been used to stave off some of these layoffs so quickly, and to find alternatives for people working there, either within Algoma as they switch to production of other types of steel that are necessary for our markets, or potentially for retraining opportunities in the community. It really was the speed at which this happened that's the problem, and the lack of transparency in terms of anything that was agreed to with Algoma as a condition of the loans.
Opposition parties are asking, why weren't there more conditions attached to this loan? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, presumably there are conditions that are attached. Our issue is that we have no idea what those are. There is a complete lack of transparency and consequently a lack of real accountability here with these loans going to Algoma. I mean, you know, we've said for years now, initially there were loans several years ago of $400 million to switch to an electric arc furnace, and we were shut out of that process initially. And since then, we've continually maintained that the union needs to be involved in discussions, or, you know, at least aware of what's being promised. We think that with loans nearing $1 billion total over the last few years, conditions could have been attached and made clear to us and publicly to ensure that, you know, we're reducing the layoffs as best we can, and you know, that there's conditions like ensuring that Algoma switches product lines, things like that, where there's gaps in what they're producing for our domestic markets. And so it was really the lack of transparency, accountability, a lack of knowledge on our part of what any conditions may have been, and we just don't know at this point.
All right, Meg, unfortunately, our time has come to an end. I really appreciate you being here and sharing a little bit about this with us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
That's Meg Gingrich, Assistant to the National Director for United Steelworkers.